Stress could be two different problems that can create. Stress itself is a problem. It is affecting all the other lifestyle habits which we can build on. Whatever small little change we can make that small change first and carry on till some time. So that once you reach that 10% becomes your own habit, then start adding another 10% to it. People always ask what motivates you to do things. The biggest motivation is action. We always look for motivation to act. But I'm telling you, start acting, that's your biggest motivation.
Welcome, Dr. Sunil Kumar. Welcome to the Impact Show.
Thank you, Surya.
Thanks for being here. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. Could you start by telling us a bit about your background and what inspired you to specialize in lifestyle medicine?
Thank you, Surya, for welcoming, and it's honored for me to be in this show. Yeah, basically, I'm an anesthetist by trade, and for the last 24 years. And what hit me to become a lifestyle medicine physician is about 6 years ago. It was my own personal health reasons, which I discovered to be, when I discovered the lifestyle medicine, and it had quite a good impact on me, on my own health. That's how I got more passionate to learn more and get certified into that. And here I am now.
Since we are the Impact Show, we'd like to ask this question first.
Yeah.
What impact would you like to create towards the society?
Yeah. Thanks again. This is a great show because it's going to make impact in people's lives, and you're doing a fantastic job here. And through my podcast here, what I want to make an impact is to explain or to give knowledge or probably empower the whole community. Sure. The power of small lifestyle changes which they can make in their lives so that their healths become better and the metabolic health, and they can live longer and live healthily as well longer. This is what the impact I want to create as long as possible and as deep as possible in the community.
Congratulations on writing and releasing your first book.
Thank you, Sunil.
But I would like to ask you, what made you to write The Power of Self-Care?
Okay.
And also why heart health? Why did you choose?
Fine. Thank you. Yeah, I'll probably answer the first question first, and then I'll come back to the second. As you know, already 6 years ago, I came across the specialty, and I was at least 25 kilos more in weight that time. And plus, I had problems because of that weight. I also had problems on my joints. I couldn't walk longer. I was getting tired soon. And also at work, it was very difficult because the nature of job we do, we always are at a high intensity work. So there was a bit of a stress, and was as well as it was going towards a burnout. And because of all this, obviously it affected my family time as well, became more irritable and not having good time with the family. Sure. So all this made me think I have to change myself. And this is how and when I discovered the power of lifestyle changes through a lifestyle medicine specialty. Although it's only about 15 to 20 years old specialty as such, it started in America, and in UK it has only come for last 6 to 7 years. And we all as doctors, we were doing bits and bobs from all this lifestyle medicine, but obviously we were not practicing it as a evidence-based and in a structure and a format how it is now. And that's how it led to different specialty. And once this made a huge difference in my own health, I also applied the same principles in my family and extended family and even from some friends around me. Sure. And still I found the same results with them as well. So this led me more passionately into the specialty, and I got certified into become a lifestyle medicine physician from an International Board of Lifestyle Medicine in America, and it further led for me to become a lead tutor at British Society of Lifestyle Medicine as well. And then the rest is history. Now I'm just doing a lot of lifestyle medicine, although I'm still happy to and like my own other specialty, anesthesia.
Sure.
This has become a passion now.
Why did you choose particularly the heart health?
Heart health. Second part of the question is heart health, you asked me. So most leading cause of any health morbidity or mortality. Morbidity is somebody becoming sick, or mortality is people dying from it. So for both, it is heart disease throughout the world. And when we talk about heart disease, when we say heart health or heart disease, we're mainly talking about the arteries which get diseased, which supply the heart, the coronary arteries, which supply the blood vessels, which supply the blood to the heart. They are coronary artery disease. So that disease is heart disease. But although the heart has got other different types of diseases. But when we talk in a community like this, or many people know in the community, heart health is nothing but the coronary artery disease. And since it is the most common disease for people becoming sick and people dying from it, and that is the reason why I thought these principles should be applied more thoroughly and a little bit specific to the heart disease. And that's how the book came out. And through the book is nothing but the coaching program which I developed for myself and for my family around, using the lifestyle medicine principles. And this I used same principles again and again to go ahead with the friends, families and communities, and which developed same impact. So that impact made me and my other people who got affected with this to come out with something on the book which should go reach more people.
I do realize that there are 6 pillars in lifestyle medicine. Would you mind describe briefly what are those 6 pillars?
Definitely. So first of all, before I go to 6 pillars, I'll tell you what lifestyle medicine is actually. The lifestyle medicine is a specialty which was grown only in last 15 to 20 years, as I told you. And this is nothing but an evidence-based specialty where we work on treating, preventing, or even reversing the diseases which are led by lifestyle. Most of the diseases like diabetes type 2, hypertension, obesity, and heart diseases, all these things are related to lifestyle changes. They're also called chronic non-communicable diseases, because there's something called communicable. Communicable diseases usually led by bacteria, virus, and all those things. But obviously they are prevented by vaccination, and all, like tuberculosis is a chronic communicable disease. But non-communicable diseases are the diseases which are because of the lifestyle. And 80% of the chronic diseases in the world are actually non-communicable, which means they can be changed by lifestyle, or they become better or worse with lifestyle changes.
So the 6 pillars.
6 pillars, yes. So the pillars mainly depends upon is the nutrition, the first pillar, where they suggest if you eat predominantly plant-based foods and whole foods. Whole foods is like when you look at the food, you should know the source from it. Like for example, if you look at the orange, you know it falls from a tree, or you can pluck it from a tree. But if you look at something orangish, liquid or anything else made, we might know it's made from orange, but it is not by nature. So that is not a whole food. That has been actually processed. So there are different types of processing. But orange is better than the orange juice, or apple is better than the apple pie. So like that it is. So that's one of the concept is you should eat whole food, should eat predominantly plant-based food, and it should be non-processed food. These are the 3 things which they basically form this pillar. And number 2, second pillar is physical activity. In physical activity, it's about any activity. I'm not telling exercise, because whenever you tell exercise, people get, I don't want to do exercise, I don't want to do gym and all that. When you talk physical activities, any activity, when body moves, even if while standing, it takes up so many muscles for you to work, for you to just stand, which you don't realize. So when you're sitting, you might not expend energy which you have, but while standing, you expend energy. So that's why standing is better than sitting. So this is a small physical activity. Then after standing, obviously moving is better than not moving. Even light intensity walks, just normal walk, or even taking steps, taking stairs, and stretching. All these are just physical activities. And next comes your exercise, or you can tell it as an EAT, like exercise activity thermogenesis. Any exercise which produces heat, it's got to be structured. The exercise has to be structured, and it has to be time bound as well. But when you talk about non-exercise activity thermogenesis, non-activity is normal activity which we do, sitting, standing, crawling, or in fidgeting, all these things. They're all non-activity. Like you're not planning the activity, you are not structuring it, like you have to do this many reps or this much time. So they're this thing. So then you go for next physical activity is after the exercise activity thermogenesis is like in that there are 4 different types, which I can go through now or we can go through later. But I can just briefly tell you now. One is resistance exercise, like building your muscles, and next is aerobic exercise where you actually increasing your heart rate so that with the activity, and then the stretching, and then comes the flexibility exercise. So this completes the physical activity thing. So anything you start from being non-sedentary, like non-sedentary to becoming almost like yogic with stretching, flexibility and everything, and become a marathon runner or even big muscle bodybuilder, this all comes in the span of a physical activity.
Sure.
So people, when we tell people exercise, they think about this end and they'll stop doing things. They don't want to do things. So start from here.
Sure.
And as long as you reach, that's fine. That's the thing.
Sure.
So that's second pillar.
Sure.
Third pillar is you're optimizing your sleep hygiene.
Sure.
Like the way you sleep, quality and quantity both makes a difference. And sleep, when you talk about sleep, you should talk about how long you sleep. Like 7 to 9 hours is the normal sleep hours.
Sure.
Even if you sleep less than 7 hours, you are prone to chronic diseases. Even if you sleep more than 9 hours, you are still prone to chronic diseases.
Okay.
So that's a quantity you have to maintain.
Sure.
But this is for adults. But as you go lower and lower, younger people, you have to increase the number of hours of sleep, because during sleep, growth happens. Like neonate sleeps more.
Sure.
Because the growth is happening. And similarly, once they become adolescent, it almost becomes like adult 7 to 9 hours of sleep you need. That's about quantity. Quality is the time you go to sleep, like regularity. First thing is regularity. Like going to bed same time and waking up same time every day. That's regularity.
Okay.
And this is much more important than the quantity as well. So you can have a maximum difference of regularity in the weekend. Like if you're sleeping every day at 8 o'clock in the night, for example, you can probably maximum go to 9 o'clock in the night for weekends.
Sure.
But as long as you keep that regularity, that is much more important than anything else. So similarly, one is regularity and also the quality of sleep, how you sleep during sleep. Like, do you wake up with something? Some people wake up for a loo break or with something else or anything. So all these things to be tackled as well. Like sometimes they drink water before sleeping, so they're not planning it well. So they might have to go in the middle of the sleep, so that's disrupting the sleep. So there are a few things which I'm talking about. Sleep. It's a big thing. I can talk about sleep for one whole hour, but obviously we're just talking about simple things. This is the third pillar. And the fourth pillar is managing your stress.
Sure.
Managing stress involves two components: preventing stress and coping with the stress, and building resilience as well. So these three components. Now, obviously, there are different kinds of things which you can do. One is relaxation exercises, mindfulness, and practicing meditation, and even physical activity, nutrition. All this becomes part of managing stress as well.
Sure.
Even though they're different, this thing, they're all interdependent. The most important in stress is if you are stressed, it doesn't only affect the stress pillar, it also affects the other pillar. Because when I'm stressed, I don't feel like eating healthy. If I'm stressed, I don't feel like going for any walk or activity or exercise. I don't feel like sleeping, or sleep is disturbed. So you can see the stress is actually hampering all the pillars. So stress could be two different problems it can create. Stress itself is a problem. In addition to that, it is affecting all the other lifestyle habits which we can build on.
Okay.
That are the four I talked about. And number 5 is positive social connection. The social connection is the most important factor here, because you might have heard about a Harvard study which are doing for many years, now 30 to 40 years now. They started, I think, post World War II. It started off, and then they're actually monitoring people. What is the best thing for the happiness for them? They're monitoring everything, what they're doing. The single most important thing that came out from that study was the positive social connection. As long as you're connected to somebody, even one person, not socially or on social media, I'm talking about face-to-face or in real this thing. It could be your partner, wife, parent, friend, anybody. But as long as you're actually connected, in that sense, like there is no screen in between you and them. You actually could share anything to them, and they can, which is actually much more easier thing. It lightens your heart. It de-stresses you. So many things are going away from it. And with that positive social connection, there is a parasympathetic overflow, and parasympathetic overflow is always good for your health. And because it's almost like what meditation, mindfulness, everything does is it takes you to the parasympathetic overturns the sympathetic cycle to the parasympathetic cycle, where you find calm, peace, and everything. So even it doesn't have to be sitting in one room alone, closing your eyes and looking for things. Even if you interact with people openly and happily, you can still find that flow, the flow state where you can achieve this parasympathetic overdrive. So that's about stress. And then Next, that's about positive psychosocial connection. The next is avoidance of any drugs or any illicit drugs or smoking or even alcohol. If you avoid it completely, much better. Some organizations say that you can still, like for example, alcohol. They say, okay, mild alcohol drink is fine. But if anybody asks me, it's my personal opinion, I will say nothing is fine. You can stop everything.
Sure.
Because if you go to WHO, the alcohol itself is a pro-cancerous particle. It's a carcinogenic. It is described as a carcinogenic material. It's as bad as any carcinogen. But obviously we all know about it, but still we do it. But obviously that's the most bad thing which can happen with alcohol, along with other problems it can cause, like liver failure and other things. So if you ask somebody to me, like, I'll just say no. But obviously the word is avoidance here, not limiting. So if you can avoid, it's better. Yeah. These are the 6 pillars. So anybody, if they want to improve their health, sit down and look at your audit yourself to these 6 things and see where you are, and develop each one. You don't have to do all 6 together at the same time. You don't have to, even in one thing, you don't have to do nutrition, for example. Whole plate from tomorrow should be healthy. There's no need to that. In a whole plate, when you eat, even if you start with 10% of the plate or even 20%, whatever small little change you can make that small change first and carry on till some time. So that once you reach that 10% becomes your own habit, then start adding another 10% to it. So what I'm saying is small things you can change, although it takes longer time, but the benefit it gives is longer and much more impactful.
Sure.
Just to make yourself, you might ask, does it work? Yeah, it does work. All this lifestyle medicine does work. And there are a lot of studies have been shown as well. Each pillar has shown differences. The main person who did, the main scientist, a doctor who did this studies, he has shown improvement in even Alzheimer's, he's shown improvement in dementia, he's shown improvement in prostate cancer. All these things he has shown. So, and second thing is, you might have heard about blue zones. Have you heard of blue zones?
Yes.
Yeah, the different parts of, like, there are 5 different zones, although there is 6th now as well. The 5 different parts of the world they are. But this classic thing why they're known for is the people who live there, they live longer and they got highest centenarians. Like people who cross 100 years of age are highest there. And not only they cross 100 years of age, but they're healthiest as well. Correct. Even if you see them at 90, 95, they're still doing the yard work or garden work and all those things.
Okinawa?
Yeah, one is Okinawa in Japan.
Sure.
And there's one in Greece. There's one in California.
Okay.
And there's one in Ikara. No, Ikara is in Greece. Nicoya Island, this one. And the latest one to add is in Singapore.
Okay.
They transformed, Singapore government has transformed to make it as a blue zone. What they do, the pillars which are discussed to you now, the 6 pillars, they do that. There are no gyms there. They don't run marathons. They don't take bikes and everything. I'm not saying I'm not against these, but what I'm saying is the basic things, if you develop yourself to the maximal, the basic habits, it's more than good enough for you to live longer and live healthier as well. So what they do is just eat healthy all the time. They eat local. They eat, some people even drink wine, like the one in the Greece side, in Italy side. They also drink wine with the food, 1 glass of wine. Still they live longer, they still live healthier. But some people in Okinawa and Japan, they eat rice. We say rice is bad, rice is wrong. They still eat rice. But other things are good because they do a lot of physical activity, not exercise. They do a lot of physical activity.
Like gardening.
Garden. They're all non-activity thermogenesis, like non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Gardening, do your own cleaning the house, bringing your groceries. They don't take the car to build the groceries. They go walk, bring the groceries and bring it home. So these are the activities which they do, physical activities. They walk. And then what they do, stress is easily managed because they're already working on nutrition. They're already working on physical activity. There is not much stress because they are in such a good environment there. All these places are good places. Plus they're community oriented. Once in a week, the community gets together, they'll have some talks, functions, whatever. They're all in community. Okay. That builds up. As I told you, social connection is the most important here. Once you're happy, you're stress-free. You're more resilient as well. And they have meal together with the family every day.
Wow.
Yeah. So these are the reasons you can tell this works. And now recently there's a collaboration between Blue Zones and American College of Lifestyle Medicine together to make it even more. People should be even more aware of all these things.
Sure.
So take this what you call to promote it, to propaganda it. It has become a biggest collaboration now. So which is nice. Yeah.
Since you're talking about this Okinawa, for example, I would like to ask you to speak more about nutrition.
Okay.
There are many questions about intermittent fasting, and then when do you eat it, when you should not eat it, and what type of foods you should eat it. Can you please elaborate on that?
Yeah. So when you come to nutrition, obviously it is not just what we eat, it's also how we eat, when we eat, and what sequence we eat in, and how are we eating it as well. So it's all. If you put all together, it becomes kind of a mindful eating. So you're very mindful what you're eating. Like a lot of currently, what we do is we just buy something and eat. We don't even know what it is, what the ingredients are, what things are there inside. We just know it's a burger, but we don't know what exactly is there inside. But you pick up apple, I know it's apple, and apple doesn't come with any ingredient list, but a burger comes, or apple pie comes with ingredient list, apple juice comes with ingredient list. So what I'm saying is, eat what comes from the plant. There's a saying in our lifestyle medicine, and avoid or don't eat which comes from the manufacturing plant.
Okay.
Does it make sense? Yeah. Eat what comes from the plant, but avoid or don't eat which comes from the manufacturing plant. And because the apple doesn't have to tell you what calories it has and what ingredients it has, because it's a natural. Yeah. And one more point now, because we're all talking about planetary health as well here. The same apple which our ancestors used to eat, they were much more nutritious. Do you agree with this?
Yes.
And much more better than the current ones. The reason is soil quality. So what I'm saying is, with the current soil quality, even we go for the best of the best nature's organic food, it's already not as good as it used to be. So think how bad the processed food will be. The apple pie made from the apple, think how bad it can be for you. So this is about mindful eating.
Sure.
So that's what I'm doing. So how bad it could be. So you mindfully think whatever you buy from grocery stores, or even whatever you're putting in your kitchen storage cupboards, whatever you keep in the fridge, you think, is it really necessary? What it is actually giving it to me? Is it giving me the good health, or is it taking me to the improper health, or is it taking me to a disease process? It might taste good, but it might not do good for you. So always think, this is about mindful eating. So that's one thing. So obviously that's the reason the nutrition depends upon the whole food. Whole food is like whole food. We know where it is coming from. And predominantly plant-based, because more you eat meat-based foods, they are prone to do some inflammation, the chronic inflammation, which can lead to, it can spoil your gut microbiome. There is a microorganisms which are friendly to you, but they start releasing bad chemicals, which could cause inflammation in the arteries. Again, it could go to heart health as well. And that's why they say predominantly plant-based as long as possible. And you might add some lean proteins like chicken and fish, but all depends upon what ethos you have got towards the food. If you are completely vegan, you want to do vegan for a different reason, that's fine. But if you keep it predominantly plant-based, 90% of your food every day you eat is plant-based, it's good enough to get optimal health as well. Again, there's two schools of thought. Some people say it's completely plant-based will be better. Again, it goes to you, it's up to you what you want to do. That's fine. That's about the quality of the foods. And second, next is sequencing of the foods. Like you might have seen people nowadays put the CGM, which is the glucose, like continuous glucose monitoring. They're all eating food and checking the glucose levels. Does this food spike my insulin or not? There's a lot of confusion. People are listening. What basically it means is there are three kinds of food. One is carbohydrates, which are part of the, like sugar belongs to that category, the macronutrient it is. And then the proteins, and then the fat. The proteins and the fat partially are made, our body can make them. But there are some part of the proteins and fat, like proteins is actually broken down to amino acids and fat is broken down to fatty acids. So some fatty acids we can make inside our body, some proteins we can make, some amino acids. But a lot of amino acids we need from outside. They are called essential amino acids, then essential fatty acids. So we have to consume them. But what we are consuming predominantly are carbohydrates here. And again, those carbohydrates are not the complex one. They're not the whole carbohydrates. We are simplifying them. Like a brown rice with the husk is a complete carbohydrate. It has got a fiber, it has got some vitamins in that, and some minerals in that. But when you take the husk out, when you take the brown rice, process it, and making it a simple white rice, it becomes a simple sugar or simple carbohydrate. Now this one is already devoid of all the good things which rice could have given you. But we are eating very at a simple processed thing. These spikes your insulin again and again. So one spikes and it drops down. As it drops down, you feel hungry again because it is not staying. It doesn't stay that long. And so you keep on eating, overeating. So this is how the simple carbohydrates are the bad ones. Bad in the sense they are processed ones. Like sugar candies and pies, whatever you take for that, bread, all these things. But more you go towards complex carbohydrates. It's much better. Like eating a corn might be better than like popcorn.
Sure.
Something like that. So you know exactly corn is grown there and all that. It has got this thing where you can boil and eat them. But popcorn, putting oil, sugar, and salt. So you can imagine that's what we know. But there are a few other things gets added later. We never know.
Sure.
So eating whole food. So I told you plant-based, eating whole food, and sequencing. Why carbohydrates I'm telling is carbohydrates are the ones which release the insulin and are like highest, followed by proteins and fat almost minimal. Okay. Now every time you release insulin in your body when you're eating, it stores, because it's insulin, and the main function of insulin is to store the energy. So you eat, blood sugar is there in the blood. It goes and distributes all the sugar to the liver, to the muscle. Excess what you eaten goes to your tummy. That's how you keep on eating more and more sugar. But essential things we're not eating. Essential amino acids, essential fatty acids, we are not eating much. So if you look at the plate, if you want to know how they should eat, I always tell my own people whom I coach is that in a whole circular plate, when you eat, make sure the half of the plate is actually greens, all vegetables and fruits. We call it a rainbow. Rainbow it could be any different colors. Make it as varied color as possible on the plate. It could be red from the carrot, green from any salad, yellow from the peppers, like this. If you take at least 5 different colors or 4 different colors every time you eat, and fill it up at least 4/5 of that half plate as vegetables, and 1/5 as a fruit if you want to. Okay. And this you eat first. The sequence, I'm telling about sequencing.
Sure.
Okay. Eat this first. Why eat this first? It has got complex carbohydrates already there. It has got phytonutrients. Phytonutrients, they are plant nutrients. They are much more powerful than the minerals and vitamins you get from the drugstores. And you're getting free. And you're getting in a pure form. And if you eat them, you don't need anything else from externally. Okay, and these food also contains fiber, and fiber is the most important thing we should eat, which is we are lacking to eat, because we're eating carbohydrates, but we're eating wrong ones. If you eat these carbohydrates, it gets you nutrients, it gets you carbohydrates, it gets you fiber. Why fiber? Fiber is very good for your gut microbiome, like microbes which live in our gut. It's very good for them. If you provide the fiber to them, they provide you good molecules, which actually called short chain fatty acids, which brings your insulin resistance down, or makes your insulin body sensitive, like more insulin sensitivity increases. So that's about why you should eat that thing.
Sure.
They're giving nutrients as well as. And second part, essential fat amino acids we need to eat. Now again, the ethos is predominantly plant-based. Keep the protein portion, what you eat every day, as a plant-based. And that plant-based could be anything, right from soya to tofu to chickpeas to lentils, or even if you're not vegan, you can also try paneer, eggs, and go to lean proteins in the meat like chicken and fatty fish, not to the other meat. Again, obviously, it all depends on ethos. If you eat them, eat. Otherwise, you can do this. The good part is you keep cycling the source of the protein. Like what we eat normally is every day we eat chicken, for example, or every day we eat chickpeas. Then you get bored. Then you start eating, I need something different. But if you keep cycling the sources of protein every week, different week, every day differently a little bit, it gives you a good consistency as well. So you can also use edamame beans. If you go to cinema halls and all that, there they give this rather than popcorn. And even if some restaurants here, when you go, you get these as this thing. Obviously, you should not eat the covering of that. It should be shelled. And inside those beans, they are a very good source of protein and very healthy as well. The reason I want to eat anybody to eat the first half of the plate this way is they are nutrient dense. They're full of nutrients, but they're calorie less. This
Got
means
it.
low calorie, nutrient dense. And if you look at half of the plate, the whole plate, if you eat half of the plate, you eat all that thing, and that's almost equal to 1 or 2 spoons of olive oil, or any oil for that matter. You can compare the calorie wise. But nutrient wise, you see, so much of nutrients are there. So for that, and then go to protein, keep it predominantly this thing. Then you go to next level, and then the plate is go to the healthy fats. You can have some nuts, or you can have some olives or avocado, anything healthy fats.
Sure.
And then add some seeds, like people eat sunflower seeds, melon seeds, anything, just some seeds. And for omega-3, like omega-3 fatty acids are the good for heart. And the good source is obviously the fish or the fish oil, or you can start eating the chia seeds. Eating all these things, if you're still feeling hungry, then go for some simple carbohydrates which have been spoiling you for so long. You think, because if I tell somebody don't eat this, they will never do the other things. So if I've seen that in my coaching, if I tell them I'm not restricting you from what you want to eat. Somebody wants a gulab jamun at the end of the meal. That's fine, you can have it. But I want you to finish this sequence. But what happens eventually is they will stop eating gulab jamun. They'll follow the sequence, they get full by the time they reach protein or healthy fat, and say, I don't need it. So this is the way changing the behavior. If I tell you don't eat gulab jamun, eat this, you will never eat it. Maybe you eat for a day or two.
Correct.
Okay. So this is the sequencing. Now you talked about intermittent fasting. I would like to call it as rather than intermittent fasting, I want to call it as time restricted eating. Okay. What I mean by time restricted eating is same. Again, there's a set time interval where you need to eat. You eat 3 times, 2 times, 1 time. It's up to you, depending upon how you have managed yourself so far. But maximum 12 hours people eat in a day. Okay. So 12 hours you need to fast. For example, if my last meal is somebody is not fasting, I'm telling you, again, obviously you have to take your doctor's decision depending upon how your health is, what medicines you are on, all that to be taken into consideration. So they should see their doctors before they start fasting. This is what general principles I'm telling you now, is that somebody who's not fasted, they can start with 12 hours fast, which is easy because 8 o'clock you finish a meal and you sleep. Next meal you have it at 9 o'clock in the morning, breakfast, or 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever. You already fasted for 12 hours.
Yes.
Only thing is we still snack because we end up sitting on the TV, in front of the TV, or start working in the night. Whatever is available, we start eating. Yeah, that small discipline if you bring, you finish eating at last meal, then don't eat anything till the next. That's first thing to start. Even if you do that, you get benefits of any other so-called bigger fasting. You still get the benefits, but not as good as them. But you'll get the minimal basic what we require for our health. You get the fasting, the benefits. Then you slowly, what you do is the next day morning's meal, you start pushing by an hour. Like for a week, I'm taking breakfast at 9 o'clock in the morning. You push it to 10 next week. Okay. Week by week.
Sure.
Okay. Again, breakfast is when you fast, when you break your fast first time in the day.
Correct.
It doesn't have to be 7 o'clock breakfast, for example. Even if I eat my first meal of the day at 12 o'clock in the noon, that's my breakfast.
Yes.
Okay. Now that you can combine with your lunch if you want, because the time is lunch time, but it is a breakfast. So eat breakfast like a king. People say, yeah, the first meal of the day, eat nicely. And during the daytime, in that 12 hours, the first meal is good because your metabolism is fully optimal state, because for last 12 hours, 13 hours, you're not given any work. So it's like motorway, like clear the motorway, everything, it becomes fast, like when reopened. Similarly, that needs rest because it restores, recovers everything, metabolic, this thing, and then everything is fine. And so the first meal, give it digests properly, it metabolizes properly, it does wonders if that meal. That's the reason I say eat like a king. And then slowly, last meal should be as light as possible, but keep as less carbohydrate as possible as well. The last meal. The reason is the carbohydrate metabolism becomes weakened and weakened as the day progresses. If you take my fasting blood sugar in the morning, I might be normal. Like my fasting blood sugar might be normal in the blood. If the same thing, if I fast till evening and take my blood sugar in the evening, I'll be diabetic. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So the metabolism for carbohydrates is becoming weakened and weakened as the day progresses. So better you keep protein and rich, more protein food and complex carbohydrates, which I explained as a rainbow. Keep it for the more for the, even though you eat everything for each meal, but keep it more for the later.
Sure.
And that That is about sequencing and the fasting. So once you develop this one, it is not about how long you fast. People tell about themselves, oh, I fasted for 18 hours, 16 hours, 20 hours. It is not about how much you fasted. It is actually what you eat in between the fast.
Okay.
Because people eat any wrong things. Oh, I fasted for 18 hours, I can eat burger, pizza, this, that. Don't do that. Because your health actually depends upon what you eat, not what not you're eating. So what you eat, if you eat it better in a healthy way, even if you do 2 meals, 3 meals in that 10 hours, 12 hours, that's fine. Because you are not stimulating insulin that much. Because all these foods which I'm telling, they are calorie less, nutrient dense, and they don't stimulate insulin that much as well. And it has been proven that they all are a good food for metabolism, for gut health, as well as for insulin sensitivity and preventing heart disease and all these things.
Sure.
One most important thing, which is hydration. A lot of us in the current world, we are suboptimally hydrated. I don't call dehydration. Dehydration is a clinical term where people really lose water and come to the hospital and all that. But I'm talking about suboptimal hydration, which means our body should contain 60% of water totally for males and about 55% for females. Like if I'm 100 kilos, for example, I should be 60 kilos water, and remaining 40 kilos is combination of my muscles, fat, and anything bones, anything else, cartilages and all those things. But 60% I should be water. And how much we drink consciously, mindfully, very less. And through my coaching program, even when I started my own health journey, when I got my total body water from the scans, it was about 40 to 45%. I thought it was just me. But as I started coaching my colleagues, doctor colleagues, friends, families, everybody, most of us were, even though they say they drank enough water, they still had total body water around 45 to 48% if you average it.
Okay.
Why water is very important? Water is the prime thing for any metabolic function to happen in the body. It is needed everywhere. And why suboptimal hydration is a problem is, suboptimal hydration makes your blood little thicker, because there is not enough water. And that's one of the risk factors. People can have clots without any other problems. Because whenever something stops or something is, like, for example, contrast and all that things. The more liquid the contrast, it easily flows.
Correct.
And more thicker it is, it stops and you have to really push. So do you want to reach to that stage by becoming suboptimally dehydrated? No, we don't want to. You should drink water. So from this podcast, if I can reach out to people and tell them, don't do anything what I'm saying to you if you don't want to, but at least please drink 3 liters of water every day. Some people think it might be too much for them, but believe me, it is not too much, because once we have to replenish whatever water we already running low on, plus we have to maintain ourselves as well.
Correct.
Even if you reach 60%, doesn't mean you can stop. You have to go on drinking. So one of the things I told you, it can cause clots. Second thing is kidney functions get affected because there's no circulation of water much in the body because they're not drinking much. Digestive problems, constipation, anything can happen. Even though you're very good in physical activity, very good with food, choosing foods, stress management, everything is done. But if the hydration is not addressed, you will not progress further. And second thing is, when you're dehydrated, when you don't drink enough water, there is a hormone released called ADH. It's called antidiuresis hormone, which means it stops your urine, your pee. Then when you're actually concentrated more, you want to conserve the water more, because the body thinks there is no water coming.
Okay.
So that also causes a problem. And why the ADH is a problem? Because ADH, when the antidiuretic hormone is released, it also stimulates the stress hormone cascade. The stress hormone cortisol gets released. And if this becomes a constant problem, you got a constant stress without your knowledge. And that stress can put you into other health, lifestyle-related health problems.
Sure. Okay.
Can you see where it's going? And other thing is, the antidiuretic hormone is released before you feel thirsty.
Okay.
Which I mean to say is, until you feel thirsty, if you don't drink water, the damage is already getting started. So that's why be mindful. You have to hydrate irrespective of what you eat, how much exercise you do, how good athlete you are, whatever you are. This is basic minimum requirement of 3 liters for males and 2.5 liters for females. In addition to this, if you do any activities where you are actually losing water, like high intensity exercises, running, all those things, you have to add more water. Obviously, because you're losing more, you have to add more. If you're in temperate climates or a tropical where too much heat is there and you're losing water, so as a sweat, add more water to this thing. But 3 liters is a minimum. Now, whenever you feel hungry, again, just to sum up the common nutrition thing, because during fasting, if people eat only 3 meals a day, even if I give you a 12-hour window to eat, if you eat 3 meals a day, which means every 4 hours you're eating. Yes? So why there is a necessity to snack in between? Because only 4 hours before you've eaten, maximum.
Correct.
Next meal is the next 4 hours. So whatever comes in between the hunger, it is not, you have to differentiate, is it a real hunger or it is psychological hunger or is it actually thirst? Because a lot of us as a human being, you can't differentiate between thirst and hunger. When we feel thirsty, when I get into for example, you're working in a hospital, you go into the coffee room, you feel thirsty, actually you're feeling thirsty, but when you see a lot of food around you, cakes, biscuits, chocolates, this, that, you actually go to eat them. You don't actually drink water. So what I'm saying is always differentiate, because every 4 hours you're eating food, unless you are not eating appropriately right food, there's always a problem. You keep on having hungers. And psychological hunger, like I'm only hungry for that pizza or for that cupcake or for that burger. That's not a true hunger. Because if I'm hungry, whatever is there, I should be able to satisfy my hunger. But if I give you a carrot stick or a celery stick when you feel you're hungry, and you say, I don't want that, I want a cake, which means you're not actually hungry, you are psychological hungry. So differentiate that. So first drink water, then differentiate real hunger or not, and then eat other things. This I wanted to convey.
Sure, thank you. I want to ask you about sleep as well. And if you can talk more about the blue light or the circadian rhythm functionality, please.
So the reason why we sleep is obviously because of the hormone called melatonin. And that once it gets stimulated, you start feeling sleepy. And it's stimulated only when there is no light. Because again, our body system inside is still very old model. It is not modernized. It has not got any artificial intelligence or anything to that standard. It's still an old mechanical model. Only 2 stimuluses tells the body it's a day or a night. Or one is the sunlight's hitting your eye in the morning when sun rises, which means it's a strong intensity of light. It tells the brain it's the daytime. The melatonin gets suppressed, the hormone which releases for sleep, and it tells the body, everyone, that I am awake. Then the metabolic workup, the digestive system, everything kickstarts. Okay. And the number 2 is the food which goes into the stomach. That's the second stimulus. And there's other peripheral stimulus are there, but I'm just telling for this thing. So these 2. So the light, that's the reason if you are awake during the day, you make sure you get exposed yourself to the main sunlight at least 10 to 15 minutes of the day, as much as possible, so that you're tuning your machine for the daylight, which is stronger. That is a stimulus for me to be awake. These lights, however powerful, because in this current modern era, there are lights which are 24/7 on in so many companies or hospitals or everywhere. Again, they can't be as strong as sunlight. So tune your brain saying that is my light. This light is still not that light which can actually stop my sleep. So darkness, as the sun sets, the melatonin gets released, you start sleeping. And then you wake up in the morning when the sunlight comes, that melatonin stops. But when actually melatonin is getting ready, okay, this is dark now, I need to tell my body to sleep. What happens? We go open the fridge, have a snack. So body thinks it's confused now because the light is telling me to sleep, but the gastric system, GI system, is started acting or eating something. So sleep gets disrupted. You might not get quality sleep. You should get a good deep sleep. You should also get a good REM sleep, the different kinds of sleeps. Each sleep has got its own function. So this is about the quality of sleep. For this reason, If you finish your last meal, don't touch anything. Why you want to eat after that? If you really want to eat, keep eating. Don't go to bed yet. Okay. And blue light, like all this, our iPads, TVs, phones, which can this, they are almost as powerful stimulant as the sun. When sun comes, body thinks I'm awake. I should be awake. Blue light tells the body same thing.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yes.
So if you avoid them, that's fine. And bedroom has to be only for sleeping. Don't use it to do your work. Don't take your laptops there. Don't take your phone and scroll. And obviously, definitely no blue light emitting things. Even, for example, me, I don't have a TV in my bedroom nowadays. I don't keep the TV because if it is there, you end up watching something and those things. It will affect you. That's environment. And also, always make a dark windows and obviously the opaque curtains so that light from outside doesn't come. But as long as you're training your mind for the strongest stimulus in the world, these small things should not hamper much. But still, you can do that. Then also, when the melatonin is released, for sleeping, there will be vasodilatation happens, and the body becomes cooler than the external environment. If you keep the external environment a little cooler, even better for you to get into sleep. Okay, that's one thing. And also avoid eating at least 2 hours before you start sleeping. And avoid alcohol definitely for at least 3 to 4 hours before you sleep. And avoid coffee at least 8 hours. Any caffeinated drinks or coffee drinks, avoid 8 hours before you plan to sleep every day. The reason is the half-life of the coffee or any caffeinated product, including Coke, Pepsi, whatever you drink, is about 6 to 8 hours. What do I mean half-life? Obviously, but for everybody else, if I'm drinking the full cup of coffee at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, after 8 hours, which is 10 o'clock, half of the cup of the coffee is still in my system without drinking. And coffee is bad for your sleep because I'll tell you, there is adenosine. There's something called molecule adenosine. Okay? That builds up throughout the day. More it builds up, better sleep you get in the night. So adenosine has got adenosine receptors where it acts. Now coffee acts on those receptors, but anti-way against it.
Sure.
So more coffee is left, half of the cup of the coffee is left in my system at 10 o'clock when I'm going to bed. It actually asking adenosine not to act, which means you're not going to get a good sleep. I've heard so many people saying, oh, don't worry, doctor, I drank coffee in the night, I have a good sleep. Sleep initiation is not a problem. The quality of the sleep you sleep in the night, that is a problem with the coffee. So any caffeinated drinks, make it a habit to finish by 2 o'clock. If you're sleeping at 10 o'clock in the night. If not, some people are accustomed to drinking at 5 o'clock when they come back from home and all that. You can probably start drinking decaffeinated to start with. Again, decaffeinated still has got a caffeine. It's not completely gone. Yeah. Or stick to some green tea. Or don't drink. Just drink warm water, just water. Similarly, don't drink water at least 2 hours before. And before you go to bed, go to the loo so that your bladder is empty. Because you might wake up in the middle of the night when you're getting nice, good sleep, and then go to the loo and it disrupting the sleep. This is only something about sleep I'm telling you.
Sure.
And if you're not getting sleep, like the only sleep initiation, which once you go to bed, if you don't actually get to sleep in the next 20 minutes or 25 minutes, get out of the room, go to a different room, watch TV, you do whatever when you work, until you get the sleep initiation back again. Otherwise, you'll be ruminating in the bed for long. It is not going to help you. Again, you're training your body that once you reach to the bedroom and to the bed, your only function of your body there is to lie down and get to sleep. So more you train this slowly, more better it is.
Sure.
So this is another thing you should do.
Sure.
And ultimately, you have to do some mindfulness if at all you want to do some like for sleeping as well. Again, that's a beyond of this podcast for now. Yeah.
I just want to touch little bit more about sleep. Like some or few of the people in advanced countries start wearing watches, the smart watches in the night time, where it records whether you're going to have deep sleep, how much of it, and rapid eye movement REM, and then light sleep. So is there any particular benchmark for the deep sleep, how much you get out of your...
Usually, obviously, these trackers which we wear normally, I don't know how accurate they are. Sometimes they claim it to be 90-90% accurate, but nothing can match what we can do in the sleep labs. Obviously, we can't sleep in the sleep lab every night. The sleep cycle itself is into two halves, basically. The first half is more of a deep sleep one, and second half is more of a REM sleeps. What I mean to say is, even though there's a cycle going on, the deep sleep becomes wider and wider in the first half, and the second half of the sleep, the REM becomes longer and longer.
Sure.
And this is processed again. Obviously, it's a huge study again to talk about only this. Each one has got different functions. If you really want to lose weight, you should not lose deep sleep, because in the deep sleep, whatever you've eaten in the day, whatever workout you've done in this thing, the growth hormone, which actually helps you to lose weight, gets released in the night in deep sleep more.
Okay.
So if you've done everything right, you don't sleep well, you still struggle.
Sure.
Obviously, it's not 100%. You will still get some helpful changes from what you do in the day. But what I'm saying is, unless you sleep better, all the benefits you're not able to get. I always give analogy for people to understand in simple language. If you got a car, if there are 4 wheels, one wheel is nutrition, second wheel is physical activity, third wheel is sleep, fourth wheel is stress. Can you run the car with working only on one wheel, making it highly inflated and nice, big, huge, but other 3 remaining same? Can you run the car?
No.
Well, obviously you can't, but still you can. Even if you run the car, you can't catch the space, the speed or the efficiency if unless the 4 wheels are same. You might be having a luxurious car, but as long as the 4 wheels are not equally inflated, not equally competent, you can't be efficient with your body or with your car. You can still run, it might stall somewhere.
Sure.
Does understand analogy?
Yes.
So what I want to say, people, is here, don't think of working out in gym is the best thing in the world. I'm not saying not. But equal importance should be given to stress management, equal importance should be given to sleep management, as well as nutrition. Unless you work on the 4 things, even with the little inflated, like what I'm saying is, even if you're zeroing all 4, if you start with 1, 1, 1, 1, it is much better than running 1 tire with 10 and then with the 4 tires with 1. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Make changes in every 4 of these slowly and with small steps which you can handle. It does take long time, but once it reaches there, you can't forget it. Like it's always with you for life.
Last question. I want to ask you about misconceptions.
Yeah.
Or the challenges people face when it comes to adopting a hearty, healthy lifestyle. How can they overcome these obstacles?
Yeah. Same thing. Most of it, what we spoke already, contains the answer in that, but I'll tell you more specifically here. The biggest misconception is that it's too late for me to change. If I tell somebody who's 56 or 50-year-old or something, who was telling, okay, you can do from tomorrow, you can start. No, I'm too old already. They always think it's too difficult to change, too late to change.
Sure.
Okay? It's the biggest misconception. So to come out of it, it is never late. You can change. Even if you're dying tomorrow, you can change today. Even if your last day of your life tomorrow, you can still change today. So what I'm saying is, if you get that intention to change, if somebody is telling, or your own body is telling you, okay, you should do something about it, you can do it. And that's the first win. And it is, people always ask, what motivates you to do things? I said the biggest motivation is action, because you always look for motivation to act. But I'm telling you, start acting, that's your biggest motivation. So if you suddenly feel, I need to change. Don't think about, I can't change this minute, I can't change at this age, and nobody's going to help me. No. Definitely read books, podcast, contact people who are well good in that. Definitely something will come out of it, and you start. And start small. Start small.
Sure.
As long as you start small, that is fine. If I tell you just walk up till there and come back, you'll do it. But if I tell you go run 5 miles from tomorrow, you won't do it. So what I'm saying, same thing. It's a human behavior. And anybody who has, obviously they say like, it was not built in one day. Rome was not built in one day. Same thing again. You can't build your own health in one day or taking one big specific action. And Usain Bolt practices for years together to run only for that short period of time. We all think we should become like him, but we don't see what has he gone through to become like himself. So it is small changes. Every day add things and you will reach to the Hussein Bolt stage.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Sunil Kumar.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Pleasure to be
Thank
here.
you.